Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and today I'm doing my reading wrap-up. Usually I do a 1-week reading wrap-up, but I'm actually doing a 2-week reading wrap-up. I didn't get a lot of reading done last week, and so I didn't think I could do just one reading wrap-up because it was only for 3 books. So instead I decided to just join it with this wrap-up and make it a 2-week reading wrap-up. If you guys watched my vlogs from June, you know that I took a trip in June. My friend is getting married and she had her bachelorette weekend in Disneyland and California Adventures. And so I was there for 4 days at the end of the month and I just didn't have time to read. And so I ended up being really busy. I had out of town guests here at my house before I left. I had people here after I got home. And things have just been extremely busy. And then at the same time as my trip, I started a new medication, a hormone medication to prepare me for fertility medication that I'll be starting next month. And I had no idea how badly they would affect me. They're a new medication to me, really strong. And I've been honestly just so ill. I've been feeling like garbage and I felt sick the whole time I was in Disneyland and since, and my body is now finally, I think, starting to get used to them. And so I just have not been feeling well. I'm not sure if a lot of you guys care about that stuff, but I did mention my fertility struggles in one of my vlogs and I got so much positive feedback from you guys, just a lot of support and sweet comments, and so I want to say thank you for that because it really put a smile on my face because I was having a pretty hard time, but I'm starting to feel a little more positive because my doctors are helping me. And so yeah, I just want to say thank you for all your guys' support, and sorry if you guys don't care about that stuff, but it's, you know, part of my everyday life and I feel like women should be able to talk about it. It's not that talked about, so I want to be open and honest with you guys. But now on to the books. I read a total of 10 books in the last 2 weeks. Out of these 10 books that I read, 3 of them were arcs, 6 were mystery thrillers, and 4 were romance. I will link all these down below and let's get right into it. The first book that I read is One Little Secret by Holohan. This was an arc and it comes out July 9th. And this is a mystery thriller slash drama fiction. It's kind of like a LeeAnn Moriarty where there's a little bit of a mystery element, but it also has a lot of drama and more women's fiction elements. This is about 3 different couples. They're all married and they live in the same neighborhood, and when their kids go off to the same summer camp, they decide to rent a house together in the Hamptons. And their first night there is a lot of drama that goes down, and you can tell there's a lot of secrets and lies and drama within the friendships and the marriages. And by the next morning, you know that one of the people is found dead and the police feel that person was murdered. And you know that one of the people that is in that house murdered the person, and you're trying to figure out who it is because everyone seems to have a motive, and it is basically one of the other 5 people in the house. And I found this to be really good. It was really addicting, and there were some aspects I wasn't a fan of. Like, I didn't really like the detective and the kind of investigative style, but I really liked the drama within the married couples, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. The next book that I read is Meet Cute by Helena Hunting, and this one I went into a little bit wary because I've heard a lot of people have not enjoyed this one as much as her other novels, and this one was definitely more serious. It looks really light and fluffy based on the cover, but don't let that fool you. This has a much deeper context, and this is about 2 people named Kaylin and Dax. They went to law school together and they had a really friendly rivalry, but then Dax screwed Kaylin over and they kind of parted ways and didn't talk again. And now they work at 2 separate law firms in 2 different kind of law fields. And Kaylin is seeked out because Dax has a tragedy happen in his family and his parents are killed. And then he has to take custody of his little sister who's in her early teen years, and whereas he's like 30. And it is a lot to take on, and even worse, their aunt is trying to sue for custody of the sister because she thinks she would take better care of her, but he disagrees. And so basically he seeks Kaylin's legal counsel and she becomes their lawyer, and she gets wrapped up in this case in their life, and she becomes really attached to the sister. And it is their romance, and something about this just didn't work for me. I really liked the sister, and I liked one of Kaylin's friends, and I liked those kind of dynamics and relationships, but something about Dax and Kaylin's relationship I just didn't love. And I just thought it was pretty serious, which I don't mind, but the way it was handled and tackled I wasn't a fan of. So I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I might pass this one along. I did enjoy it. I just did not love it as much as I loved The Good Luck Charm. The next book that I read is 9 Perfect Strangers by LeeAnn Moriarty. I did have a physical copy of this, but I ended up unhauling it and bringing it to my local half-price books, so I no longer have a copy because I didn't really enjoy this book. I heard some really mixed things about this book, mostly negative, and I would agree. I wasn't really a fan. It is about 9 strangers who all go to a health retreat and they're trying to better themselves, whether they want to lose weight or work on their marriages or whatever. And so they all go to this health retreat, and it seems too good to be true because it might be too good to be true. There's a lot of rules and some weird things happening, and the owner is kind of off, and you just know something is odd. And it was really slow. It was just a lot of character building, but at like the halfway point, a little after halfway, took a turn for the weird, and it was so unbelievable and weird that I just could not give it very high rating. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I skimmed the last like 150 pages. I just didn't like this. I didn't get it. I didn't really get the point of it. So yeah, I didn't love this one, so I ended up unhauling it. And like I said, I gave it 2 stars. The next book that I read is Wraith by Rebecca Weatherspoon, and this is a adult romance. It is about a career-driven single mom named Sloane, and she has 2 girls that are twins, and I think they're like 6 years old. And her nanny up and quits on her out of nowhere in the middle of the afternoon, and she's kind of left high and dry, and because she has her career, she really just needs another nanny. And in comes Wraith. He is a male nanny. He just quit his last job because he wants to kind of move on from nannying and find his own family and basically start his own family now that he's in his 30s. But he hears about Sloane's predicament and he decides to take the job. But when they first meet each other, he's super attracted to her and she's attracted to him. And they're kind of in this awkward situation of he's the employee, but they kind of had this romance going on, and it is their romance, and it was really good. I enjoyed the shift in the power dynamics. I liked that it was the woman who was career driven and powerful and really confident, and he was more nurturing and soft. And even though he was big and burly, he wasn't like a kind of rageaholic kind of person. He was definitely more soft-spoken, and I really liked his personality. What I wish was that this was a slow burn. I wish that they had worked together and then they kind of built up to this relationship, and at the end there was something. Whereas this, it was kind of right away they discovered they liked each other, and the whole time was their relationship. It was definitely steamy, so if you like steamy books, this would be for you. So I enjoyed that aspect. I just wish the relationship played out a little bit different. So I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. The next book that I read is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This is Samantha Downing's premiere novel, and I was really excited to read this because it is so hyped on Goodreads, on BookTube, just everywhere. I've been hearing nothing but great things. And I have to say, I'm a little disappointed. I kind of talked about it on my Instagram and in my Goodreads review, but this was definitely a letdown for me. So this is about a married couple that are a little bit unlike traditional couples. Instead of traditional date nights and normal things, they like to capture women and kill them for fun, and that's their kink. And the premise of this was so good. I think it said in the flap that it is Dexter meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and that sounded amazing. But it wasn't really that. Like, it was just through the perspective of the husband, and he was telling you things, but you never got to actually see anything happen. So you didn't see the girls being captured, you didn't see them being hurt or nothing, or even being disposed of. It was just all him telling you about their dynamics and their family and their marriage. And I don't know, it just was a little dry. It was really slow. You never find out the name of the main character, and so it was just a little odd. And for me, I just could not connect with it. And I wanted more showing. I didn't want telling. I wanted to see the things happening, and I didn't. And so for that reason, I give it 3.5 stars. I do understand it is her first novel, and I think for her first novel, it is pretty good. I would love to have seen just more showing. And I think 3.5 stars is a little generous. I think it was more like a 3-star for me. I don't know what made me give it 3.5. But yeah, this was probably one of my most disappointing books this year just because it was so hyped, and this is the case where the hype kind of got to me and almost made me enjoy something less, because if I hadn't heard about it at all, I would have been kind of, impressed for what it was, but because I was expecting something way more, it left me feeling really disappointed. The next book that I read is The Scandal by Nicola Marsh. This is also an ARC, and this one comes out this month on July 25th. And this is another women's fiction meets drama meets mystery type of story, and it is about three best friends named Marissa, Ellie, and Claire, and they've been best friends for I think a couple of years, and they do a lot of social gathering together. I think they live on this island together. And they all have some drama and secrets in their lives. One of them is having like a loveless marriage. One of them is dealing with infertility. One of them is having an affair with a married man. So they all have their secrets, and they're kind of worried about their secrets coming out. And then a young woman comes to their town, and she is pregnant, searching for her unborn baby's father. And you know that it's probably someone who is related and involved with these three best friends, and you're kind of wondering who it is. And the whole time you're kind of just curious about that, and I think that is the driving question. And then at the end there's a ton of events that happen and just a lot of drama that ensues. And I thought this one was pretty good. I think I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I didn't love the writing style, but I thought it was a really entertaining read. The next book that I read is The Night Olivia Fell by Christina McDonald. And I picked this one up on a whim at Barnes & Noble. I'd heard really good things about it, and I'm really glad that I did because I love this book. It is about a mother named Abby who she gets a call in the middle of the night saying that her daughter Olivia is in the hospital, and she had an accident, fell off a bridge, and now she has irreversible brain damage. And basically it was deemed an accident, but Abby does not believe it was. And the plot thickens because Olivia is actually pregnant, and for that reason they cannot take her off life support because it is illegal in the state of Washington to take a pregnant person off of life support. So they basically have to keep her body alive to support the baby. But Abby had no idea that Olivia was pregnant. She's a senior in high school, and so this is a shock to her, and Abby is determined to discover what happened and who is responsible for the baby, who is responsible for her fall. And we are seeing in dual perspectives, in dual timelines. We're seeing currently Abby kind of connecting the pieces, and then we're jumping back to the months leading up to Olivia's fall through her perspective, and you're connecting both stories and seeing them intersect. And this was so good. I was not shocked by who was the person and what the reveal was, but it was just really well done, and I really enjoyed the story overall. And for that reason, I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book that I read is Getaway Girl by Tessa Bailey, and this is the first book in the Girl series. Tessa Bailey is known for writing really steamy novels, and this is no exception. It is about a young woman named Addison who she has been away from her hometown and living in Brooklyn for 6 years, but she returns back home when her cousin Naomi is getting married, but her and Naomi don't get along. Her cousin Naomi is pretty high class, whereas a lot of people in Addison's town view her as trash. And she returns for this wedding, and she comes into the church, and instead of seeing nuptials between Naomi and Elijah, he is the mayor's son, due to be mayor soon, instead she sees him get dumped at the altar. And she quickly gets in her car and offers him a getaway car, and he hops in, and they go on this adventure together, and she basically saves him from the embarrassment of being left at the altar. And they form this friendship, but clearly there's an attraction, but they keep their friendship a secret because for Elijah, if it was known that he was friends with Addison, who is the cousin of his ex-fiance, it wouldn't look very good on his campaign, so they're keeping their friendship a secret. But of course, their feelings are more than platonic, and it gets really complicated. And this one was good. I didn't love it. I just did not love the storyline. I didn't love the romance between them. I just didn't quite buy it. I did really like Elijah. I thought he was a good guy, and I liked that he was all Southern charm but had a really dirty mouth, and the steaminess aspect was there, and I enjoyed that. But this definitely was not my favorite that I've read by her. I think I enjoyed Fix Her Up more, and I do want to finish the series and read more by this author, but I just didn't like 100% love this one, and I gave it 3.25 stars. The next book that I read is The Last Post by Renee Carlino, and this is also an ARC. I got it directly from the publisher, and this one comes out August 20th, and this has been one of my most anticipated books of the year because I loved 2 other books I read by this author earlier this year, which were Blind Kiss and Swear on This Life, and they were such good contemporary hard-hitting romances, and so I was so excited for this one. And this one is also hard-hitting, and so I thought I was just going to love it. It is about a girl named Leia who she has a whirlwind romance with a guy named Cameron. They get married, and he plays extreme sports, and a year after they get married, he dies doing one of his stunts, and she's left heartbroken and grief-stricken, and she really doesn't know how to move on with her life. During that time, she was becoming an orthopedic surgeon, but she kind of ditches her dream and moves back to New York near her dad. He owns an architecture firm. And then our main love interest is Micah. He works for Leia's dad at the architecture firm, and he's kind of getting sick of the same old, where he goes out to a club and hooks up with a girl and gets drunk. He wants to move on with that, and he wants to get married and have kids and all of that. And he meets Leia when she's in the office with her dad, and he's quickly enamored with her, and he hears about what happened to her, and he looks her up on Facebook, and he sees that she's posting these things on Facebook, communicating with Cameron over Facebook. It's her way of grieving, and he starts sending her anonymous gifts and anonymous things that have to do with those posts. And I found that to be a little creepy. It was just a little odd to me. I didn't really understand his obsession with Leia, and it was just a little odd for me. I didn't really buy their romance. It seemed really inauthentic, and they were really one-dimensional characters. They just didn't have a lot to them, and I didn't really know Micah very well. But the thing I did love was Micah is a twin, and he had a twin sister. I think her name was maybe Melissa. And their relationship was so cute and so funny, and I loved their banter, and I loved her personality. I just didn't love the romance between the two main characters. I was so bummed because I love this author, and I will read a lot of her books. I just think she is such a great writer, and it was well written. I just didn't love the storyline, and for that reason I gave it 3 stars. And then the last book that I read is Sleep by C.L. Taylor. This is my first read by this author, and I got this book in a giveaway from Audrey over at Chapter and Converse. So thank you so much, Audrey. And I really enjoyed this story. It is a closed-in mystery about a woman named Anna. And a few months ago, she got in a car accident. She was the driver, and she was in a car with her coworkers. 2 of them died, and 1 of them became paralyzed. And she's been racked with guilt ever since and struggling with insomnia. And after their deaths and after the accident, she starts receiving these cryptic messages, and she thinks someone is stalking her, and subsequently her and her boyfriend break up. So she decides to get away from London, and she takes a job in a little Scottish island named Rum at a hotel, and she basically moves there and starts this job in hopes that it'll be a fresh start. And this hotel is for people who want to take hiking tours and walking tours. It's a really beautiful area, and she basically moves there. And there's a group of 7 people that come to the hotel, and then there's her, the owner, and then the tour guide, so it's a total of 10 people. And a storm hits, and no one's able to go out on the hikes or anything, so they're all trapped in this hotel. And of course, some things start happening. She starts receiving the messages again, so she thinks that her stalker is in the house, and then someone dies, and weird things happen to people. And it's definitely one of those closed-in mysteries where you're wondering who it is, and you know there's only a set cast of characters, so it has to be one of them. And this was so addicting to read. It just flew by, and I loved it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. So those are all the books that I read within the last couple of weeks. I would love to hear if you guys have read and enjoyed these. I will link them all down below, and I will see you guys all in my next one. Bye.